Hello, everybody, and welcome to Vinyl Power. That's right, the podcast where we talk about our love for vinyl records and share it with you. Join us each week as we bring you the latest in vinyl releases, what's in our vinyl collection, and wrap it up with epic vinyl. That's right here, each and every week, with your hosts, the Reverend Jeff Kelly and Kurt Harris. Once again, welcome to Vinyl Power. That's right. Welcome everybody. Happy New Year. Do you still say that when we're 13 or 14 days into the new year? Do you still tell people Happy New Year? I'm not really sure.
Hey, if you're happy, let them know it.
That's right. And you're really glad you show it. Clap your hands.
Darn right.
That's right. Hello, everybody. I am the Reverend Jeff Kelly, and this is Vinyl Power. That guy over there playing the Jabba the Hutt position is Mr. Kurt, the Music Man Harris. And coming up in just a little bit, we will have WiD34 join us in just a little bit. That's right. But first, as always, we go out there and we tell you what's coming up in the releases this week. So let's take a quick look. There isn't a whole lot and people we've never heard of, but hey, you may have. Fall Out Boy is coming out with Mania.
Fall Out Boy.
Nuclear Disaster. No, Porches with The House, and Toonyards with I Can Feel You Creep Into My Private Life. Hey, stay out of my privates. My private anything, okay? Creep and privates, just that just shouldn't be something
that doesn't go together very well, does it?
Not very well. All right, well, this is the time of the show when I usually look over at my buddy over there and say, hey, Kurt, man, what have you been spinning on your turntable this week, man?
Well, I'll tell you what, Reverend Jeff, it's been a special week of records, special week of thinking about different artists, and the one that was focused on this week, certainly one of the most special artists in the history of popular rock music, and that would be Mr. James Marshall Hendrix himself.
Jimi, as his friends call him.
And, this right here would be the second record. It's titled Axis Bold as Love. And this would be 1967, but not released in the States until 1968. Because the record company didn't want it released too quickly on the heels of what was still a very well-selling Are You Experienced? And so it was held back a little bit in the States, but it also charted really well. It actually hit number 5 in the UK and number 3 in the US. It was recorded at mostly at Olympic Studios in London, and pretty cool. Mostly like with a record, you would think this is your north and south, your up and down. It's really not. I'll have to hold to make sure the record doesn't fall out, but you actually hold it and you get the full Hendrix Vishnu picture, which wasn't something he really wanted. It was something the studio went for, but it still is a cool looking cover regardless. On the inside, you get the black and white with the songs and the lyrics, which is always cool to get the lyrics included.
I still dig the white guys in the afro, man. I mean, white dudes in afros just kill me.
Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell, absolutely. And one cool thing about this record, among many super cool things about this record, was the fact that, the first album is such an amazing guitar-driven record, right? I mean, Hendrix does a little bit of experimentation on the first album, but this album, only the second album, and, so fast into the studio after the first record, he was so experimental right off the bat, wanting to push the envelope in every direction musically. And one thing that meant was, and I absolutely love this album. I can't tell you how much I love this record, but only 2 songs were ever really played live off of this album because the rest of them were basically studio. I mean, you could play them live today with the backing tracks and everything that we have these days, but at the point where he cut this album, you really only got Little Wing and Spanish Casual Magic. really played live. The rest of the record was really studio only, but I still think it's an amazing record and it's an amazing look. Hendrix was a perfectionist. Some of these were 50 cuts before he was satisfied. But it's an amazing look inside the head of a person. You think of Hendrix as an amazing guitar player, but I think most people don't realize how much he really had going on upstairs in looking forward in music and wanting to do and produce something that had not been done before. And this was the beginning. And the second album that I'm bringing forward today, yes, I so wish that he would have survived long enough to make the next piece of what is my personal favorite Hendrix record, because really there's only 3 studio albums in his lifetime, and this is number 3, Electric Ladyland, and it's a double. Every side basically is different as you listen, and I don't think there's, for my money, there's nothing quite like side C with Rainy Day Dream Away, 1983, A Merman I Should Turn to Be, and Moon Turn the Tides Gently, Gently Away. I mean, the experimentation, the things he was doing with his guitar, the back masking, all these different techniques that he was doing in the studio, they were revolutionary. And Hendrix was trying to get to someplace revolutionary with his music. He was never satisfied to just be a guitar god. That did not satisfy him at all. I mean, he's truly the master, but he didn't care about that. He wanted to make something that people had never heard before, that he had never heard before, and go above and beyond. And this record goes there. This record has everything from just great basic rock and roll songs to incorporating some of the funk that you'd hear a little bit of on his final record, which was the Band of Gypsies live record. But for me, this record always stood out as, if Hendrix could have survived, what would he have developed? Where would he have taken music that was in his head that no one else had? And that's basically what I have to say about Electric Ladyland. I think it's an amazing record. I think Hendrix, like I said, is for many people, I'm sure, it's a guitar god and a person of his era.
Afros, man, they're just creepy.
Yeah, but he really was, and a bit ginger there too. But
lock your daughters up, boys. We coming down.
But he really had something going on upstairs that points to that word you don't like to usually use, and that word is genius. And there was something going on up there that was beyond what most, only the very top level.
Yeah, it's called LSD, and way too much of it.
Only the top level, songwriters and musicians of his time. There's not many I would put in his class in terms of pushing music forward. I mean, Pete Townsend from The Who would definitely be one that did a lot of experimentation and pushed music in new directions. And but for my money, probably in some ways the best there's ever been. And so those are the 2 records that I want to show today. And then I want to ask you, Reverend Jeff, in 2018, what fantastic records have you got to show us that you've been listening to this past week?
Oh, dude. As a matter of fact, just down to the shop today and got a chance to listen to them this afternoon. I can't say that they are all absolutely fantastic, but I will say that they're all new to me. This first one up, Bruce Springsteen in Nebraska. Yeah, I gotta tell you, I wasn't really all that familiar with this particular album. The 6th studio album by Bruce Springsteen. The album was released September 30th, 1982 on the Columbia Records. Sparsely recorded on a 4-track cassette tape Portastudio 144. The songs on Nebraska were originally intended as demos of songs to be recorded with the E Street Band. However, Springsteen ultimately decided to release the demos himself. Nebraska remains one of the most highly regarded albums in his catalog. I got news for you. Born in the USA is a far better album. Far, far, far better album than this hokey crap. Sorry. I mean, I know I'm a connoisseur. I'm a music artist for a very long time. I've gone through music appreciation classes. I understand what I'm doing, and I can tell you honestly, there are far better Bruce Springsteen albums than Nebraska. Just the absolute long and the short of it. But we did pull some epicness out of the bin today with Whitesnake. Slide it in. Yes. Also the sixth studio album by the British hard rock band Whitesnake, released in 1984. It was the first Whitesnake album to released on Geffen Records in the U.S., but was remixed for the release. Because of this, two different editions of the album exists, each with its own unique qualities. It was their fourth top 10 album in the UK, peaking at number 9 in 1988, and re-entered the US charts due to the success of the self-titled Whitesnake album in 1987 as well. It is certified double platinum. Holy crap. Whitesnake's always a great listen. I mean, we put it on and immediately just started sitting here and rocking out to it. So, if you find Whitesnake in the bin, you probably should pick it up. And then finally, since it was, we were spinning the Jimi, I brought his number one, his first release, and unfortunately fortunately or unfortunately, this is the stereo edition, not the mono press of the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Are you experienced? Yeah, I am. It's the debut studio album by the English-American rock band, the Jimi Hendrix Experience, released 1967. The LP was an immediate critical and commercial success and is widely regarded as one of the greatest debuts in the history of rock music. It features Jimi Hendrix's innovative approach to songwriting and electric guitar playing, which soon established a new direction in psychedelic hard rock. Yeah, that was that LSD we were talking about. By mid-1966, Hendrix was struggling to earn a living playing the R&B circuit and as a backing guitarist after being referred to Chaz Chandler, who was leaving the Animals, interested in managing and producing artists. Hendrix's guitar talents sent him to the top. That's right. Late October, having been rejected by Decca Records, the Experience signed with Track. That's right. Off who? Yeah, Track Records, a new label formed by the Who's manager, Kit Lambert and Chris Stamp. And the rest, my friends, is absolute history. When you put Jimi on a turntable, you just play it. You don't even wait. You just play it and listen to it because it doesn't matter. It's all fantastic. So with that, my friends, that's what I was listening to this week. I see that our boy Rod Dupree, who's always in the place to be hanging out with us, is out there as well. And now let's kick it back over for Kurt's Epic Records of the Week with Mr. WiD34. How you doing, sir? Glad you could join us.
Jeff, how you doing? I'm glad y'all were talking about Hendrix, one of my all-time favorites. I brought this record to profile. This one's a little bit controversial because it came out in 1975, and they got other guitar players to play on it, some old tracks that Hendrix had left, and to fill in parts like rhythm guitar and stuff. And so this record is controversial for that reason. A lot of people don't like it for that reason. I think it's got one of the best covers ever. And so
it's kind of like singing and dancing with Michael Jackson's Hologram.
Yeah.
It's not real, but it's sort of real.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, the solos are him. I would have loved to have been one of the guitar players allowed to fill in. That would have been one good session right there. But anyway, I've had this record for a very long time, since like 1983, and it is one of my favorite Hendrix. And because it has some songs like Machine Gun Studio, which you don't find Machine Gun on studio ever, and a couple others like Beginnings and Hear My Train A Comin'. And so there's the versions he was trying to cut in the studio on his own, but not made necessarily for release. But you know, so that's why it's controversial, because they were released later, you know, when he had no decision on it. But I still like it because it's still Hendrix. And so yeah, just Midnight Lightning is the name of the record, and you can still find it. Not very expensive either, but about $20 it usually runs on eBay. But yeah, this was one of my records I grew up with. And
you can tell it's been well loved in your collection, because you can see the record circle where it's pulled in and out to play like a lot.
Yeah, those are all me because I bought it new.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I get them used like that all the time, and I look at them. Wow, that's really been loved.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of good turntable plays on this one. But
when they just sit in the stack, they don't lose that color around the ring of the record. It's only getting pulled in and out that they get that color loss.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I was going to play you some music if you'd like to.
Give us a ring.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's try it. And we'll do some jam here.
Dude, there I was 15 again, trying to figure out how to keep my Marlboro lit inside that plastic cup, man.
Hair is standing up.
Oh, fantastic stuff.
That was fun. A lot of Hendrix inspired riffs there just to keep in the mood.
That's just awesome, man.
Well, Reverend Jeff, tell us your epic record for the week.
Awesome. Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Well,
you're welcome.
The epicness of the Reverend Jeff's world this week was Megadeth.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. This one is Rust in Peace, and I Mama broke at least 2 or 3 of these. I was like, God, I was a junior in high school. She was still breaking records. I mean, and I don't mean in a good way, literally breaking records.
Oh, I've been there. I've done that.
Now, the Rust in Peace was the 4th studio album by the American thrash metal band, released September 24th, 1990 on Capitol Records. Following the departure of the band members Jeff Young and Chuck Bueller. In 1989, Rust in Peace was the first album to feature guitarist Marty Friedman and drummer Nick Menza. It received the universal acclaim from fans and critics and was responsible for bringing Megadeth to the attention of the mainstream metal audience. That's right. If it weren't for those other two jackasses leaving, Megadeth would have never been. Or would they? I don't know. You know, it's one of those things that you never can tell. Did the band members change it, or did people just discover it? But sitting here listening to this, is it really thrash metal? Really? I mean, because I'm a Striper fan. Yeah, Christian metal. I know it's kind of hard to, you would seem to think that they don't go together, but with Striper, they really do. Striper's
they were hard rock. Yeah.
Striper's more thrash metal than Megadeth is on this album. So, I mean, it really, there's not even a double kick drum going in. It's very, very strange to see this listed as thrash metal, but that's what the Reverend's epic album was for the week.
That's a good pick.
It is absolutely time to close this one out. You want to play us out on the way out?
All right, I'll do that.
All right, well, give us a little lick on the way out, and we will see everybody next week. Thanks for joining us.